I'm going to turn it over to our chair, Laura Feldman, who is actually here in the boardroom with us. Thank you so much, Laura. It's great to have you here with us.
Great to see you, great to be with you.
Okay.
And great to be with you all online as well.
Is your mic on, Laura?
Okay, can everyone hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, great to hear you. Welcome to our meeting. Do we have a quorum?
Okay, we'd like to call attendance. Nate Collins, School Board District 4 member. Reginald Durandis, Ayiti and Axion Inc. And Chair Fellman is here with us. Chair Fellman.
Yes, here.
Rachel Frischberg. Randy Gabriel, School Board District 3 member. Karen Brill. Oh, I'm sorry, ESC Advisory Council. Sherelle Golden, School Board District 1 member. Barbara McQuinn.
Here.
Latonya Hilliard, Coalition for Black Student Achievement. Gabriela Mendez, Hispanic Education Coalition.
I'm here.
Charmaine Postel, Palm Beach County Council of PTA, PTSA. I did hear from Charmaine Postel, and she does have a conflicting meeting. She may try to listen in at some point.
Okay.
Sheila Scott Lubin, Palm Beach State College.
Here.
Imran Siddiqui, School Board District 5.
I'm here.
Thank you. And Christine Tibbs, School Board District 2 member.
Here.
Thank you. So we have 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. Right now, we are one short.
Okay, since we are one short, I'll not be calling the meeting to order. Instead, we'll be at recess until 6 o'clock?
Yes.
Until 6 o'clock, and we will reconvene then, unless we somehow get a quorum before that time. Thank you all. Okay, I believe we have one person who just joined us. Is that Randy?
Yes, this is Randy. Sorry about being late. I got a new computer. I'm trying to figure out how to work it.
We're just glad you're here. Thank you. So with this, thank you, Randy, for joining, because with this, we now have quorum. So I will call the meeting to order at 5:51. And before we get started, I'd like to recognize and thank our school board member, Barbara McQuinn, for being here with us for this meeting. So thank you for coming tonight. And we'll go ahead and move forward in our agenda now to, for approval of the minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
This is Randy. I'll motion.
I have an observation or for the minutes.
Thank you. Before we do the observation, do we have a second on the motion?
I'll second.
Thank you very much. It's Christine, thank you. And now we'll have discussion. So now if you would, I can't, Gabrielle, if you would please, thank you. It's
Yeah,
hard to see from
sorry.
here. It's much easier online. If you would go ahead and share your observation, that would be great.
Yes, sorry about that. I jumped ahead. I'm too excited today. It's Monday. So on page 4 and under other suggestions made, the second item, it's expressed as a look at data of students and schools that may have not be progressing as much as the others. I remember I asked for this and I was more specific in asking for data. So asking for the team to bring back data to our committee, specifically about Title I schools and schools that are not doing well, to see how we can suggest additional support for these schools that obviously need it. So it's not just to look at it, but to share with us specifically of the data of those schools. And I also asked for looking at subgroups.
If I recall correctly, you had mentioned subgroups by demographic data and
Yes.
socioeconomic levels.
Exactly, yes. And I don't see that here unless it's somewhere else, but I read it a couple of times and I couldn't find that. And you remember better than me.
Right, so you want to not just look at the data, you recall saying not just look at the data, but also to look at,
Well, if I read, look at the data, okay, who looks at the data, right? What I want is, I want from the team who presented this to bring back the data, specifically in terms of schools that are underperforming and looking at the data for Title I schools. And also, in general, looking at the data for subgroups. Because sometimes a school is doing great, but there are some groups that are behind, and we need to support those students. So I thought that the general data was wonderful, and it's something to celebrate, but besides celebrating, we had to look into the details to see where else there is room for growth.
thank you. So would you like to amend the minutes to include
Yes.
those? So would you like to make a motion to amend the minutes to include those details?
Yes, I'm making a motion to amend the second item under suggestions made. And if you want, I can write what I said, unless someone took note of what I said.
So do you need,
But, excuse me, if I can raise a question about her
Yes.
data that she's requesting. Now, I wanted to make sure that
when the team brings it back, they're not doing double work. So is this information available to her anywhere else? Do we know? Because it sounds like they're going to have to do a deep dive, and we don't want them to do extra work or do double work when it's already available to us. Is this, Glenda, do we know if this is anywhere for her to pull or anywhere that it's available?
It appears, Vice Chair, that she's asking for the data that was shared from Mr. Turney at our last meeting, is to
Right.
have the data broken down by subgroup. And I can work with the assessment team, because I'm sure, that's some data that our assessment team can pull. The question is that, I don't know, are you expecting the assessment team, do you want them to come and review that data with us? Or do we want to have a review of progress monitoring 1 after our students take the first set of data and have that data reported out by subgroup? So there's a variance here, but we can pull that data that she's asking for.
Yeah, I think that as as the academic committee, it would be good for us to look into more detailed data
So
to see if we can.
this is data that we've reviewed in the past. I believe this is standardly looked at within.
Yes, it is, and this is the data, from our last year's FAST, school year 24 FAST. Now that we are in school year 25, we can get the data and have it broken down if that's what, if she's asking for school year 24 end of year FAST.
Right.
But a recommendation is that now that we've entered school year 25, our students are getting ready to take progress monitoring 1, so we'll get a report out to how our students are performing, where they're starting the year off. And then if indeed we would want the assessment team to come and do a report out in regards to where our students starting the year with progress monitoring 1, that's the state first round of assessment, we then can make certain that that data is broken down by subgroup. So there are
Okay.
two different asks.
So before we go down this path of redetermining what the ask is, I do believe that the motion on the table is to amend the minutes to reflect what was discussed during our last meeting. And
Yes.
so while this can be a very useful discussion to pinpoint further what we want to see in the future, let's keep ourselves focused on the motion at hand, which is to amend the minutes to reflect the request. So last time there was the request to have this data presented by school with socioeconomic and demographic data, which is something I've standardly seen in over the years in reports, and I believe many of those are even accessible online for the layperson to take a look at through like Data for Good or whatever it's called at this point. I don't remember. But, so do we have a second to amend the minutes, so, for this?
This is Randy. I'll second for the amended minutes.
Thank you. So, all in favor of amending the minutes to reflect this information, please say aye or raise your hand or indicate in some fashion your
Aye.
support.
Aye.
Thank you. Any opposed? Motion carries. And I'm going to keep us on the agenda for dealing with the minutes so we can get these approved. Does anybody else have a motion to amend the minutes? Okay, I do. So I move to amend the minutes to reflect also on the suggestions section that the discussion about, it's third from the bottom, the opportunity gaps in accessing advanced coursework. It's not just how are we addressing those gaps, but it was what is, to compare those gaps over time, to see how we have improved, stayed the same, or not improved in closing those gaps over time. So it's the opportunity gaps in accessing advanced coursework over time, if we could add that, because that's a different perspective than what we've looked at in the past. Do I have a second for this motion?
I second.
Thank you. Any discussion, questions? All in favor, please indicate aye, yes.
Aye.
Thank you. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, any other amendments for the minutes? Great. So now for the minutes as amended, do we have a motion on the table to approve the minutes as amended?
This is Randy. I'll make the motion.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Motion carries. Minutes have been approved. With regards to the discussion about how we look at the data, when we look at the data, which data we look at, let's table that until we get to the Q&A section of our meeting, and then we can go over that then and put that into our lineup of topics that we want to talk about in the future. Do we have anyone here for public comment?
Madam Chair, there is no one here in the boardroom for public comments, and observing online, I do not see anyone online, but we can ask to open their mic if they are, but I do not see any guests online.
Okay, great, thank you. So now we have on the agenda the voting of meeting format. So do we have particular dates that we want to consider for in-person meetings that you want to make a suggestion for, or how do we want to handle this?
Well, I was the one that asked that we consider, that we had this as a discussion for this month's meeting. And what I would like, a recommendation that I would like to bring is that if we can go to at least going like every other month, where we do the hybrid, then the next month is in person, just so that we can try to just get accustomed to coming back to some of our in-person conversations. The meetings are great. I definitely appreciate everyone. We've made great strides, but I also would like to have an opportunity to where we're able to collaborate in person. So that's just a recommendation from myself, a suggestion to the group that I would ask to consider. So I know we've already had our August meeting. This is September that came around, less than a month, because August was moved due to the start of school. So even if we said that we're going to start, in next month, we can continue hybrid, but say that's October, but say November, if we could move to in-person, then December, go back to hybrid to every other month. That's just a recommendation. I just wanted to open it for a discussion and to get feedback from the group.
Does anyone have any thoughts or suggestions, comments?
Laura, I have a question.
Certainly.
So if we decide to do this, will we be able to come up with a suggestion for the month of December as well as the month of, well, December wouldn't be a question, but the month of May? Because normally in the month of May, we don't meet because of graduation. So would we at all look into something where we can schedule the May meeting a different date, or would that already had to have been pre-planned? Because typically, is everyone understanding me?
Right, because the second Monday in May is May 12th, and that gets us into graduation season.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And Madam
Dr.
Chair,
Sheffield.
I would say that we have enough time. So if Ms. Wood needed to update Tony Lynch with a revised schedule for a meeting date for May, we do have enough time to make that correction. So if the group wanted to vote and make the recommendation to move that May meeting up to the first Monday instead of the second Monday, that is something that can be done, because we have enough time for public notice.
That's great. Does that first Monday, May 5th, take us out of graduation season?
Absolutely.
Okay. So,
I don't have a problem with it, so it sounds really good to me. I'm good. That was my only question. Thank you.
So what we're talking about now is doing November, January, March, and May in person. Gabriella?
Oh, sorry. No,
Sorry.
I didn't say anything.
Oh, okay. I saw, it looked like your mic was on, so. Does
Yeah.
anybody else have any questions, comments, or thoughts? Christine? No.
No, I don't have any. Can you just, can you give those dates? I just don't have the calendar right in front of me. I was trying to look for it quickly, but I couldn't.
Well, one would be November 11th. Would that be, is that?
Oh, that's Veterans Day.
That's Veterans Day, but I think in the past, we have had meetings on that day, maybe?
No,
But we have not?
no, we have not.
We have not.
Yeah. we have
Okay.
not.
I know there have been some holidays where the schools have been closed, but the Academic Advisory Committee has actually met. But I would think that November 11th, we might not.
I don't think that's a school holiday. I think
Veterans
school-
Day?
Right, but I was referring to other days, not necessarily Veterans Day. Where I know we've had that in the past, but just because we've done it in the past doesn't mean we should do that in the future. But I think a lot of people are off on Veterans Day and are in a very different mode of thought on Veterans Day. And perhaps, do we have enough time to change the date of?
Yes, Madam Chair, we will. So if we're wanting to have that discussion about moving the November meeting and the May meeting, tonight would be a perfect time to do so that we can give those changes to Tony Lynn tomorrow.
Okay. Is there a different night than Monday nights we could choose?
What we don't typically want to do is run up against another advisory group or another group, so I don't have those schedules in front of me.
Okay,
And then, of course, making certain that we have the meeting space.
right.
So perhaps for November 11, we could change it to the 18th because of the holiday. Schools used to be off a few years ago on that day, but I don't know, maybe not this year. I think like maybe we could move it 1 week behind, but not more because then it's
Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving.
Or we could move it to November 4th, which is the week before,
That too.
which might be easier for people because they're less in holiday mode and planning mode and,
I'm looking at the calendar and I don't see a meeting for November. Our meeting would be in December. There's no meeting on the calendar that I see for November.
I have it in my calendar.
I don't. I have a December 9th, and then I had the September meeting. I have all of the invites, and I have February 10th. I didn't see anything for November. Do we have that information?
I have a November 1 on my calendar, so I don't know.
I don't have one.
yes.
Yes, it is on the calendar. I'm going to
Okay.
check, Ms. Golden.
November 11th, is it November, what day?
Yes, Monday, November
Yeah,
11th.
I see it on the school district's calendar online
Okay,
as November 11th.
all right.
Okay, so first, let's divide this out before we start switching the dates of November and May. The first question on the table is, do we have a motion to meet every other month in person and the other months as hybrid meetings? Can somebody make that motion?
This is Reginald. I motion to approve our meeting every first Monday in person and every other Monday. You said virtual?
No, that was not.
No, so, okay, so you want us to switch to be the first Monday of the month? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and then you can have the other meeting virtually.
Are we,
Okay, I think there's a little bit of confusion. So my question is do we have a motion to change not the dates of the meetings, but instead to focus on the format where we would meet in November, January, March, and May in person?
I'll go ahead and make that motion. This is Imran.
Okay.
Thank
and
you.
I'll go ahead and second the motion.
Thank
This
you.
is Cheryl.
Do we have any discussion about the motion?
Yes, so what's the plan B in case someone cannot, something happens, someone cannot make it there? Is there a plan B to make sure we have quorum?
We would, I assume, go back to the old system that if you were here, you can make quorum. If you were not here, you cannot contribute to quorum, but you can call in and listen in, if I recall correctly. So you can call
Okay,
in
so
and
no,
you can speak.
that
but
shouldn't
you-
be, maybe we need to make a motion to add where we still have the Google Meet meeting as a backup, because that would be a plan B, and we will also stand to have a quorum each meeting. Is that something that we can add, or?
That gets into the legality, I think, of what we consider what's required for an in-person meeting.
Okay, all right.
And I'm looking at Dr. Sheffield to see, if that's something that we can do where the primary focus is that we hold them in person, but still maintain them to be hybrid meetings.
Yes, the primary focus would be, for those 4 months, the primary focus would be for in-person. However, we do understand extenuating circumstances, so we can continue with the hybrid for extenuating circumstances. But I will like, in good faith, is just to try to get, the 51% here in person, but we will leave the hybrid just for, for extenuating circumstances, Madam Chair.
Okay, so in case of extenuating circumstances, would we have a capability of calling or emailing somebody easily, even if they're down here, not at a desk, kind of a thing, so that we can make sure that that information is communicated if need be?
You mean emailing the link? What
If
ex-
someone's like planning on being here, but something happens?
No,
and
we
they-
will still set it up as a hybrid meeting. We will
Okay.
leave it set up the way it is set up now, just with an understanding we will know as committee members that this is a meeting that we're going to do our best, that we've committed to try to do in person. And then for those that have those extenuating circumstances, then yes, they will be able to continue, to join us virtually.
Got it. So
I think
I have a
that was-
question.
forgive my lack of understanding, but I think we need to change the wording on the motion because we are not changing the format of the meeting. What we're doing is we're keeping the meeting hybrid, but then amongst our committee members saying, please show up in person every other month.
You got it, Madam Chair.
Okay. And Randy, you said you had a question? Or Reginald,
No, that
I'm not
was,
sure.
no, that was the question that I had, because what is the reason for us making a motion to change the meeting to every other month if the format is not gonna be changed? Therefore, it is really the responsibility of each of us to know, on those days, you guys are really pushing for us to be in-house, and if we can't, we still have the capability of joining online.
You make an excellent point. So, I guess instead of a motion, can we have consensus that
Exactly.
we will make every effort to be here in person come November, January, March, and May?
I'm all for it.
I consent to it.
Great.
Yeah. Yes.
I consent.
Me too.
Terrific. Okay, so that is our thought process, and very excited, get to see you all in person. in a couple months, so that'll be wonderful. So the next.
Yay!
Yay. So the next item is the discussion about changing the dates. Let's take these one at a time. Let's do I think the easiest one first, which is May. Can we have a motion to move May's date from, hold on, I have to pull up my calendar again. From May 12th to May 5th.
I think it's May 6th and from May 13th to May 6th.
The 13th and the 6th are Tuesdays, and we meet on Mondays.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the wrong yeah, you're right, sorry.
Does anyone want to make this motion?
This is Emerald. I'll go ahead and make the motion.
Thank you. Second, please.
This is Randy, I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Great. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I do have a question, yay.
Okay. Cheryl?
What are the dates again?
Changing from May 12th to May 5th, from the second Monday to the first Monday in May.
I must be looking at a different calendar than you're looking at, because I have that May 5th is a Sunday. Maybe I'm not looking at the right calendar.
May 2025?
Oh, I got May 2024 is what I have, sorry. That's why, okay. Thank you, I'm sorry about that.
No problem. Okay, so we had I think everyone voted, those who voted in favor did. Any opposed? Thank you, motion carries. So we'll be on May 5th. And now let's go to November. Currently, the meeting is scheduled for November 11th, 2024. And do we have a motion on the table to move it to November 4th?
This is Reggie. I move to move the meeting to November 4th.
I second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Any opposed? Thank you. Motion carries, so we'll meet November 4th. And we will meet on May 5th. Thank you very much. And thank you all for your patience with all of that. And if we can move on to the next agenda item, Dr. Sheffield, for your update.
Madam Chair, I'm going to, because we just met, it hasn't even been a month, and the updates that I had were light, as we just finished up our 11-day count adjustments on last week, and working with budget, meeting with the regional offices, and doing those unit adjustments accordingly. That has been the big bucket of work since we've met 3 weeks ago. I can hold my other updates because, in essence of time, we have two guests with us, our Director of Elementary Ed, Ms. Adrienne Howard, who's going to spend some time, per the request from our last meeting, around updating us around the K-2 Lassinger Initiative. That's the work that we're doing with our K-2 teachers and understanding small group instruction and, of course, building the instructional pedagogy. And also, Mr. McCormick, our executive director for ESE, where we were going to have, for those that had some questions around the initiatives and so forth, teaming up with Ms. Howard, the work that we're doing around our K-2 phonics initiative with Foundations and UFly with the University of Florida. So those are really two big pieces that we have this evening that I want to make certain that we're able to cover. So I will forego in regards to the soft updates that I did have.
Thank you.
But before turning it over to Mr. McCormick and Ms. Howard, I would like to move Mr. Nolan Rawl up. He is our library manager, the manager for our library services, just in case he have any updates.
Okay. Mr. Roll, if you would go, please.
Good afternoon, everybody. At this time, there's no updates. The process seemed to work really well last year, so we wanted to keep the process going for consistency purposes. I did want to say thank you to all of you. After the last meeting, we have been receiving a lot of really good comments, so please keep that up, keep asking questions, and keep everything going. So thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you for taking the time to come here and give us that short comment. Appreciate that. And I don't know who prefers to go next, whether.
Ms. Howard.
Ms. Howard? Okay, thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening to the Academic Advisory Committee, and good evening to Board Member Barbara McQuinn. I would like to update you guys about the great work that we've been doing. This is year 2 of our Lassinger work that we've been doing with the University of Florida. I'd like to kick it off by saying, of course, we all know that the ability to read fluently and for understanding is perhaps one of the most important things that we can do to build skills for our U.S. adult citizens' health and well-being, and of course for their economic advancement. But we know when we study and the data in the United States, it is still a struggle that we have very low literacy rates for our children and adults in the U.S. So today I'm going to briefly go over aligning our vision and expectations that we've had regarding our K-2 support. I'm going to give a brief explanation between Lassinger and UFly. I think that's some confusion in the building a little bit as we roll out 2 different things. A little bit of a data discussion, what we're doing to support and monitor this implementation, and then some of our non-negotiables and next steps. So we started this work around our strategic initiative A1A. I was gifted to be the owner of this initiative, and that is to ensure that we have consistent and effective literacy instruction in every pre-K through 3rd grade classrooms. On that strategic initiative, it's the goal of the district is to have 70% of our 3rd graders be proficient by 2027. Okay, you could breathe with me because that's what I said when I got ownership. So what do we do to make sure that we can kind of reach this goal? You know, how do we hold our grades K2, make them as equally as important as 3-5? I think with testing and the paradigm shift of what happened in our classrooms where schools were held accountable and given grades for 3 through 5, the structure of the day would shift, and principals were really concerned because they were evaluated based off that data. The state is now taking a shift where they're looking at all grades data, K through 5. How do we also ensure long-term success that includes sustainable growth? And I am a true believer that if you build the foundation strong, when we get to 3rd grade, those students will be strong readers. And how do we get out of the quick fix mindset? People tend to believe that if I keep just pushing different programs on teachers, that it'll miraculously fix students that need help with reading. And so we're really trying to push a long-term solution that can yield great results. As I talked earlier, and I mentioned that there's Lassinger and there's UFly, Dr. Sheffield talked about Lassinger is just what it is. It is building the skills of teachers to help with small group instruction. It's research-based. It is based in the science of reading. It helps teachers bring theory to practice in the classroom, and it provides them an explicit 5-step framework. So it's actually allowing teachers to build those skills, to build those readers with a small group focus. UFly, which is also by the University of Florida, is a systematic program that teaches students foundational skills necessary for proficient reading. This year, and Kevin will talk about it a little bit, we are using UFly as a supplemental resource during core, as well as foundations to help build some of the phonics skills in students. But again, UFly is designed to use in core instruction. However, it can be used as an intervention for struggling students in any grade. So when we talk about all the components of reading, we are trying our best, and I would say we're doing a pretty good job, is making sure teachers understand the Florida's formula of student success. And with that success is the 6 components of reading that must be taught every day. And it's oral language development, phonological awareness, phonics, fluency, vocabulary, and comprehension. The Lassinger work that we're doing helps teachers make sure that they understand that they have to work on all 6 components to reach reading success. This slide really talks about how the instruction is broken down into 5 steps. The 5 steps include reading for fluency. They do target assessments, which is a core phonics survey, so you can understand where the student needs help. It includes explicit word instruction, reading for meaning, and connecting reading and writing. I'm going to show you a little snippets of some of the videos where we've had our specialists working with teachers to build their skills in teaching this. For example, at day A, they will do steps 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then day B, they would do 1, 2, 3, and 5. Small group instruction will take place in the classroom. It takes about 20 to 25 minutes. And with us making this shift the last 2 years, teachers have really had to adjust because our small group instructions was like maybe 15 or 20 minutes, and they were in the habit of giving everyone the exact same type of small group instruction. So with this framework, it has really allowed teachers to really differentiate the instruction and base it on the student needs. This slide really just talks about some of the feedback that we've received from principals and teachers as they've gone through this professional learning. Some of them, I won't read all of them to you, but Frances Fry, one of the teachers, said, "Good morning, I just want to thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to come to the Lassinger training. They're so excited." They talk about take it step by step. I love the Elkonin boxing lessons and the step-by-step direction for how to efficiently run small groups. The importance of giving specific corrective feedback. It will make my small groups 1,000,000 times stronger. And then Vonda Daniels, the principal from Galaxy, says, "Thank you for everything. My teachers are buzzing." If we go into a little bit of data, before we jumped into this work, I had the pleasure of watching Pinellas County present the work that they had done with the Lassinger Center. And if you look at the data, Pinellas County is outscoring definitely Palm Beach County as we compare the data. They've been doing this work for about 4 years with the Lassinger. 62% of their 3rd graders are now proficient. And Pinellas County outperformed the school district of Palm Beach County in ELA grades 3 through 5. And I do believe it is a direct result of the work that they've done with Lassinger and small group framework. This slide really just talks about how they rolled out the work. They started with 8 schools, and they really had a good impact of 32% of them reaching the proficient rate. 77% of the teachers gained knowledge in the science of reading, and they served over 5,000 and something teachers in this work. The model included, it was for teachers, coaches, administrators, and district level personnel. And I'll go into how we kind of did ours similar to them, but with lesson learned with rolling out the first year, we've made some adjustments for the second year. And then the partnership components, it's when you hear Lassinger or you hear Flamingo literacy coaching or small group, that is all the same work. They just call it the Flamingo small group. So a little bit more about Pinellas County. Briefly, is they're an A rating for the ever first time. They had no elementary schools were a DF. They did a multi-year collaboration. It has been a multi-year approach, and it started by providing that Flamingo small group framework, Leadership was committed to build capacity, so they were included. They did the train the trainer model and a Master of Instruction credential. They've made great strides in Pinellas County, and I'm hoping in Palm Beach we will continue to do the same, but it's not a quick fix. So with a mind shift that we have to make in the buildings, not just quick fix, not just other programs, but continue this work to build teacher capacity. So this is just the comparison between Pinellas County implementation and Palm Beach County's implementation. So last year when we rolled it out, our intensive 9 schools were implemented with K-2 teachers. It was 10 schools that were invited. 1 school had a leadership change, so they kind of fell off, I would say, in the process. But the UF Lassinger Center supported the schools. We provided lab sites with UF. They come in and they work with the teachers one-on-one and they do coaching. We also trained 32 additional schools with the literacy specialists in my department. And that shift kind of was interrupted last year when we were pushed out to do some in-person student support, student-facing support. But 17 of those lab sites were completed. We did walkthroughs in the spring in the 4 schools, and a look for form was created for those walkthroughs, and we've kind of even changed some of that for this year. So this year, we had 6 more schools that were added. UF is supporting a total of 11 schools. We have our lab sites scheduled. Matter of fact, they are kicking off next week. We held our 3-day Summer Literacy Institute for small group that took place at the end of July. We have added administrator sessions this year, where last year when we rolled it out, we kind of gave the information to the teachers first. I think I was just so excited about getting into the work. And so now as you reflect, and I've reflected, we've decided that, okay, we need to have everyone on board invested. So we are now having an administrator track to make sure they understand the work that should take place during small group. And then in one of our north area schools, she's doing 8 of her schools, and they're being supported by our literacy specialist. Did I click too many? Nope, I'm sorry. Yeah, this slide is just more about one of the things that's different in Pinellas County is their implementation supports, that all of the schools that they did have do this work had literacy coaches assigned to them. So that would help. That's not how every school in Palm Beach County does not have literacy coaches, but we do try to pick lead teachers or SSCCs, anyone who's going to touch K through 2 in those schools. We ask that they be trained in this work to help support the work. And then the district literacy support was in the targeted 16 schools every day, and they worked in those schools instead of going to the office. And this is just, we know from change theory from Michael Fullen that it could take 3 to 5 years for the effects of educational reform to be evident. So with that being said, we're continuing to push forward to make sure that our teachers are prepared and understand the why for the small group framework, become experts in differentiating that instruction that can impact students to become fluent readers. Here we have the list of schools that we are doing this work in. These are the 61 schools that are receiving the K-2 small group this year. Each of those portfolios at least have 2 literacy specialists from my office that is assigned. And we continue to do this work. And it is a hard push, but we are seeing the change. Some of the things that we are changing is to make sure that we are monitoring this work a little more closely and really holding people accountable for following through and making sure that the teachers are, I would say, prepared and supported as they work through this work. So again, our professional learning, we did the small group framework. It was a 3-day summer literacy institute. During this year, we will be doing the science of reading, which is 3 full-day sessions. And then, of course, we added the administrator track sessions. I mentioned that we will be monitoring and evaluating the implementation. So all of the schools and the teachers and the principals will be using this form. As we conduct our walkthroughs, we will be using this form to make sure that we can support teachers in this work. This is not a form to say, oh, I don't think you're doing something right. It is not evaluative in any way. It is how we can continue to support through professional learning to make sure teachers are receiving what they need. And this is just really our tracking sheet from our department to make sure as we're meeting with leadership, Dr. Sheffield, Mr. Tierney, and the principal supervisors, that they are aware of the work that is going on in their schools, and we can follow through and up if necessary. And then some of the other work that we're doing up in the Department of Literacy is that we offer cadres, so teachers can have an understanding of the ELA standards. And we also offer training for literacy coach endorsement. Last year, I sent, I think, about 7 of my specialists within the last 2 years to become literacy coach teachers. And then they can now train reading coaches, and they can become literacy literacy coach endorsed. So again, in summary, again, our focus is 2 big buckets of work. Small group focus, building the capacity of K-2 teachers across 59 schools. And again, making sure that they have an understanding of the best standards in K through 5. Our non-negotiables is that we're going to continue to do ongoing support for principals and principal supervisors. We ask that they attend at least the minimum 1 of the lab site visits. We will continue district literacy staff developers will continue to provide support in small group. And then we're going to monitor that work, conducting classroom walkthroughs with administration, with reading coaches, to make sure that we're building the teacher's capacity as they work through it. Because we all know you go to 3 days of training and you come back, I was a teacher, and you'd say, I learned a lot, and I'm eager to do it, but sometimes they're afraid to make that next step. And so we're here to support them and say, start small, and then it will yield results at the end. We're going to continue to work with our performance and accountability department so we can get data and be able to give that specific feedback. And then we're going to schedule our monthly meetings with our principal supervisors. And then I wanted to, do I have time? To show you a little bit of the work that we did with some of the teachers last year. So you'll get to see a snippet of A day and a B day. You won't get to see all of it because they're like 20 minutes, but this was a training video that we provided for teachers, so in case they wanted to go back and see the work. Or I should say the how-to.
I want you to take out the book, A Cub is Fun, and I want you to take out your, yes, our whisper phones. And I'll take your bags so they're out of the way. Let's take those. Thank you. We'll put those back here. All right, and as we were reading, I am going to put my hand down in front of you, which means that I want you to read a little louder so that I can hear you.
Just so
And if
you know,
get
this is
stuck,
one
don't
of the
worry.
literacy
I'm here
specialists
with a whiteboard
from
and a
my
marker.
team, Michael
I've got your
Tamanini.
back, so I will help you if you get stuck. We'll work through those words together. You may begin. I like the way that you looked through the word and fixed it. Yes. Good.
It sits on his mom.
Excellent. Keep going.
It is time for a snack. Cup says yum yum. Cup goes a lot. Cup a big
I love the way that you're. Can you go back a page for me? Go back one page. I love how smooth you're reading, and I love that every time you get to those periods, and when you got to that exclamation point, you knew to stop, and at that exclamation point, you knew to raise your voice a little bit.
Grows a lot.
It looks like tack, you're right, but look, just like Lee, watch this. We have that silent E again, which makes the A say its name, so let's do that together. Good, go back all the way to the beginning and let's hear it.
Cup is there.
Okay, now you will see a little bit of B-Day. You do see a little bit of the beginning of the same lesson, because remember, we repeat steps 1, 2, 3, 4. I keep wanting to say day 1 and day 2. Day A, and then on day B, we do 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5.
1, 2, 3, and 5,
I mean,
right?
yep, 1, 2, 3, and 5.
Okay.
What's the title of this book? Perfect. Okay. So while I am going to be listening to my friend and listening to each one of you read inside while you're reading to yourselves in the whisper phone, okay? Make sure that when I come up to you, you're reading and I can hear you. Okay? Right, let's take our books out of the bag. Take out our whisper phone. And I'll take your baggies so that you can put that later. There you go. All right. Go ahead and start reading.
Dance. Let's play.
You can say it loud enough. I think. Say it. Go ahead. Slup to slum. So let's try it with our fingers. Ready? Four sounds. There you go. That's right. So I'm going to change it to slum. And a slum is a place where the houses are kind of in a bad shape. It's not a really great area. Now I want you to change the U in slum for the I. Change U for the I.
Then
Okay?
slim.
What is the word?
Slim.
Slim. Slim. Okay, perfect. Now, if this word is slim, can you change slim to slam?
Slim.
Let's make some room here, sweetie. Room. There we go. Okay. So, okay, let's try it together. Ready? I'm going to change put up our fist. Ready? Show me your fist, everyone. Shani, let me see your fist. Slam. What are you missing there? Yes, ma'am. Okay.
That was our other specialist, Gloria Arnold, and she works really with a lot of our dual language schools. When we rolled it out last year, we did work with our dual language department, and they created all of the work that we had done in English with UF Lassinger. University of Florida was very helpful in helping us also do it in Spanish for our dual language.
Wonderful.
So that's it. Are there any questions for me?
Does anyone have any questions?
Yes, I do. You said you're doing it in Spanish, what they're teaching reading in Spanish? Or what is that they're doing in Spanish? I didn't understand that.
The entire framework. The entire framework that was done for the teachers in English, we did it for the teachers that teach in Spanish, literacy in Spanish.
For the dual language programs?
The dual language programs, yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
We do have dual language programs in other languages than Spanish, correct?
Yes, we do. I believe last year it was Haitian Creole. We did not create it in Haitian Creole because they just kind of rolled out, but we did, because of the number of the dual language in Spanish, they were helpful in us transitioning the same lessons over for the dual language teachers. And the multicultural department did assist with that.
Oh, that's great. So in the future, when this is rolled out to all elementary schools, it will also be rolled out to Haitian Creole?
Yes, of course.
Program as well?
Yes.
Exactly. So as, you know, as they've created it for the Spanish, then us understanding that now we've brought on our Haitian Creole, which is getting all of those translated into Haitian Creole. Haitian Creole is definitely in the mix of being added to it as well.
That's wonderful. You had a slide showing which of the schools were selected for which time frame. Can you go into a little bit more detail as to how those schools were selected? If I recall correctly, there were some areas that, well, there's one area that had no selections in the South region?
Yes, so it was based off of data. So the state releases every year RAISE identified schools. And so they have 3 levels. There is intensive, targeted, and there's universal. Your intensive schools are schools that have less than, I think they changed the number this year, but I would say less than 50% of their kids proficient. Let me rephrase it. More than 50% of their kids are non-proficient. I think it's actually 66% for FY25. So on our list last year, there was 10 of those schools, which we selected to start this work in.
Got it.
Right? So we feel like if your third graders are reading, then there's probably a gap in your K1 and 2. And then for your targeted schools, the focus for the state is second grade students. If you have more than 50% of them reading below a level 3 as well.
Madam Chair, you have a hand up. I think it's Vice Chair Golden. Sherelle.
Yes, I recognize you, Sherelle.
Okay, I just have a question. So while we're on this particular slide, is this broken down by what you just said about more than 50%? Because I see green, yellow, orange, but I don't see where,
Go ahead, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
I don't understand where the focus
Okay,
would,
so
be.
okay, so when we picked the 10 schools, those schools were directly supported by University of Florida.
So are they in green here?
So
or-
those
They're not ranked, that's color-coded for us to know who UF will help directly. The schools that are green, receive support from the literacy specialist here from the district.
Okay.
So when we rolled it out the year before, the first year, all of the literacy specialists were expected to get trained so they would know how to help support other schools in this work.
All right.
So
right.
that's really my color coding to help us know where
Oh,
they're
okay,
going.
okay.
But the green is K-2 cohort, so they're supported mostly by district personnel.
Okay.
If you are yellow, you are supported by not only district personnel to some extent, but definitely University of Florida's personnel.
Okay, all right, thanks.
You're
And-
welcome.
And I have just another question. In one of the slides, you said, well, while you were presenting, I think it was further back, you had said that with the literacy court, I think you had, the ask was that they attend the training or were trained versus, I wanted to know, my question is that what is the difference between the ask versus mandatory? Because we want them to have the training before they actually go in and do or train the kids?
Yes, and so the 3-day training happens over the summer.
Uh-huh,
I cannot mandate any teacher to attend trainings over the summer.
okay,
They are highly encouraged. We do pay them. I believe we had like 180 teachers show up for this summer. So I can't mandate it. I wish we could mandate it. So we're trying to look at different things for next year because teachers now get about maybe 6 days of preschool. And so my wish is that we offer the 3 days during that preschool time, because then it might switch as I'm the principal and I can tell you, that is what I want your focus to be, and that's where I want you to go for your preschool training. So we're working through some of the,
But Ms. Howard, for those teachers,
yeah,
for those teachers that may not have attended over the summer, I think there is an opportunity for us to provide the continuous coaching and PD to make certain that we are fielding their instructional pedagogy to make sure that they too